Essentiel, le rendez-vous culture de RCJ, Sandrine Seban.
Une émission proposée avec la Fondation du judaïsme français. 01 53 59 47 47.
Merci d'être avec nous sur RCJ pour un essentiel ô combien important et que j'attendais depuis la sortie du livre d'Eshkol Nevo. Nous sommes très heureux, comme à chaque fois sur RCJ, d'accueillir l'un des plus grands écrivains israéliens. We are very happy as always on RCJ to welcome one of the greatest Israeli writers, Eshkol Nevo. Bonjour, good morning, Boker Tov.
Bonjour, Boker Tov.
Merci beaucoup, Eshkol, d'être avec nous en direct d'Israël pour parler de votre dernier roman, Turbulence, paru chez Gallimard, un roman magistral composé de 3 histoires dont nous allons parler, 3 histoires de vie, de mort, de disparition, d'amour, de secret, avec cette écriture si fluide et si juste qui est la vôtre. Avant qu'on parle du livre, Eshkol Nevo, je voulais savoir si vous arrivez à écrire depuis le 7 octobre. Eshkol Nevo, thank you for being with us live from Israel to talk about your latest novel, Turbulence, published by Gallimard, a masterful novel composed of 3 stories that we are going to talk about. 3 stories of about life, death, disappearance, love, secret, with this writing so fluid and so alive that is yours. But before we talk about the book, Eshkol Nevo, I wanted to know if you have been able to write since October 7.
First, I think I've been able to write mainly about reality. Usually, I'm a fiction writer. I write fiction. But since the 7th of October, I've been writing a kind of a diary, documenting my experiences as a writer, as a teacher, communities I'm meeting with. I feel that I became a kind of a therapist during these months. So I'm kind of writing about my real experiences and publishing it in Italy and Germany. So this is what I've been writing the last 5 months.
So we are donc on va l'attendre en France. We're waiting for it in France, I hope.
Yeah, I also hope so. I think I have 2 missions in writing these diaries. One is, of course, understanding this time, and while writing, maybe I'm able to make some kind of an order within this chaos. But also, I have, when I publish these texts in Europe, in Italy, in Germany, I feel I want people to understand more what is going on in Israel mentally, psychologically, on the family level, on the relationship level, not on the political level, not the news broadcast, but what are people feeling? And this is, I think, something I can transmit.
Nous avons souvent évoqué ensemble la situation politique en Israël, Eshkol Nevo, mais est-ce que dans le roman le plus sombre, le plus terrible, on aurait pu imaginer ou écrire ce qui s'est passé le 7 octobre? We have often talked together about the political situation in Israel, but could in the darkest, the most terrible novel, we have imagined what happened on 7 October?
Yes, I think one of the challenges that we have now in Israel as Jewish people, how can we fight the Hamas without becoming the Hamas? How can we face these atrocities without losing our human attitude, humanistic attitude? And this is something I think stories, words, people need stories and words this time in Israel. I feel maybe it's the most tragic time for me as an Israeli, but also the most meaningful time as a writer, because people need to be told stories. I'm doing a lot of readings, a lot of workshops, meeting a lot of people, soldiers, civilians, wounded people, families of the kidnaps. Of the people who were kidnapped, and I'm trying to give each one of them some kind of a hope or a meaning or a way of expressing their feelings, and then you feel that it's meaningful.
But it's difficult. It's so difficult.
Yes, there's a very famous book written by Viktor Frankl, Holocaust survivor. It's called "The Man is Looking for a Meaning," and he said that if we have meaning, we can suffer everything. We can go through the most difficult times if we feel that there's a meaning to that.
There's no meaning.
This is, I think that this is what we are searching for right now, on a daily basis. What is the meaning of this time, and in what way can we learn from this?
Vos livres, Eshkol Nevo raconte mieux que personne la société israélienne, sa force et ses faiblesses aussi. Ce qui se passe depuis 5 mois montre une société bouleversée et en même temps une société résiliente, une société qui tient. Your books tell the story of Israeli society better than anyone, its strength and weakness also. What has been happening over the past 5 months in Israel show a society that is disrupted and yet resilient and very strong.
Look, I'll tell you about a specific. Let's tell the story through a specific group I'm working with. These are people who come from Kfar Aza, which is near the Gaza Strip, and a kibbutz that suffered close to 100 casualties and many people that were kidnapped. And now they are not living in their houses, they are living in a hotel, and some of them are even already left the hotel. They don't have a home. So I'm working with a group of people from Kfar Aza, and I'm helping them to write their story. And what I realized is that, of course, they are post-traumatic, each one of them, and we are crying half of the time in class. But also I feel they have this power of being a community, writing together, living together, having this shared feeling of we have gone through something, and then they're also able to laugh about it and also able to cry together. And so I feel both kind of feelings that every Israeli in a way was traumatized, but in a way we're also got together much more than before. And this is what I feel when I enter classes, readings, meetings, this ambivalent kind of feeling. A lot of sorrow, a lot of vulnerability, but also a lot of solidarity.
Eshkol Nevo, on va parler du livre maintenant. Turbulence. Dans Turbulence, c'est donc 3 histoires d'amour qui ont toutes leurs secrets. On va commencer avec ce jeune couple qui, comme beaucoup d'Israéliens, soit après l'armée, soit pour leur lune de miel, partent en Amérique du Sud. Est-ce que vous pouvez nous parler de Ronen et Mor? So, in Turbulence, your book, Eshkol, it's 3 love stories which all have the secret. We will start with this young couple who, like many Israeli, either after the army or for their honeymoon, go to South America. Can you tell us about Ronen and Mor?
Actually, they seem to be like a very nice couple on a honeymoon.
That's true.
But it's only the first impression. Then when we go deeper, we understand that this honeymoon is going to become a nightmare. And we are going to be following their story through the eyes of Omri, who meets them while they are in a honeymoon. He has a very short conversation with them. I would say like half an hour. They eat ice cream together. And then in the middle of the night, Mo, who has just been a new bride in her honeymoon, she comes to his room, knocking on his door in the middle of the night, and she wants to talk with him. And then we begin to understand that this honeymoon is much more dark than we thought it was. And we follow these 3 people, Omri, Ronen, and Mor, through the turbulences of their relationship.
This young bride, cette jeune mariée n'est absolument pas conventionnelle, mais elle a finalement une liberté absolue. On a l'impression qu'elle fascine les hommes. This young bride is absolutely unconventional, but Mor is also absolutely free, and she's absolutely fascinating. Could you, Eshkol Nevo, fall in love with Mor as a lot of male character in this book? I just want to know. It's just for a friend.
Of course. And I
Okay,
think
so you are not different.
Of course, I think she's attractive, fascinating, dangerous. And while I was writing her, I had moments in which I felt I could definitely fall in love with her. And then there were moments I was suspicious about her. And I think this is exactly the kind of ambivalence I wanted my narrator, Omri, to feel, that it's like a magnet. He's attracted to her really strongly. But on the other hand, he's beginning to suspect that maybe it's all a manipulation. Maybe she's manipulative. And this kind of not being sure that whether what you are getting is the truth or just manipulation is a very interesting moment when we talk about storytelling, because also the reader is not sure. Is she what she pretends to be?
To be, of course. Il est beaucoup question aussi, grâce à Omri, ce troisième personnage qui est le narrateur, de paternité. There is also a lot of talk, thanks to the third character, the narrator, of paternity, because on va pas raconter à nos auditeurs évidemment ce qui se passe. We are not going to talk about our auditor of the story, but the paternity, it's very, very important for Omri.
Definitely. I think he eventually has to choose. And I think this is a choice many people are facing, maybe more people than we would imagine. And sometimes it remains a secret. Nobody talks about it. Maybe years after, people will suddenly discover this story that was going on in their family, where one of the parents, the father or the mother, had to choose between a love affair and his children or her children. I think this is a very conflictual moment happening much more than we imagine. And yes, I lead Omri eventually. I lead him to the point that he has to choose whether it's whether it's Mor or whether it's Lior. Lior is his daughter. He eventually has to make a choice.
And you will see in the book, et vous verrez ça dans le livre. In several of your book, including this one, Eshkol Nevo, you describe Israel in South America. It used to be the place of leisure and happiness, especially after the army. In Neuerland, one of your first book, it was also a place of a follow-up of Zionism. We have seen thousands of people in Brazil, Chile, crying their hate of Israel after October 7. How, as an author, can you describe this change, this attitude?
Actually, I haven't been to Latin America since 2018, so we're talking about something I haven't experienced. For me, it's a love story. I fell in love with Spanish and with Latin America. It happened 24 hours after I landed in Ecuador. 1994, I felt like this is my second home, and I when I can't travel there, I travel in my imagination. I take my characters there, and then I can imagine myself and my characters traveling in South America, in Bolivia, in the death rows. I find it for me a place of like the opportunity to take the road not taken. There's a very famous poem by Robert Frost, and he's talking about the road not taken in life, the road that we didn't choose, the alternative life. So for me, Latin America, again and again in many of my books, is the opportunity to walk in the road not taken. Let's take a look at the life that we could have had.
Alors, Eshkol Nevo, on va passer à la deuxième histoire. Dans la deuxième histoire, là aussi, on parle d'amour à travers le personnage d'un brillant médecin récemment veuf et qui va se prendre d'infection pour une interne. In the second story, we also talk about love through the character of a brilliant doctor who is recently widowed and who will fall in love with an internship, but we did not know if it's really love. it's affection.
Yeah, it's a very strange feeling he's feeling. There's this new intern coming in the hospital, Liat, and he feels a very strong urge to protect her. No, it's not exactly a erotic attraction. It's
Yes,
more
it's
a
not
needs to
sexual
protect her. Yeah, it's not sexual attraction. He wants to protect her, and also he finds many things in common with her. They have the same taste in music. They both like Schubert. They like the same sandwich that they sell in the hospital cafeteria. They have the same tendencies, and they find themselves getting closer and closer and closer without really understanding what is the nature of this intimacy between them. And then we can't tell more because
No.
it's to be discovered while reading. But I think this whole novelette is interested in the gray areas between women and men.
That's exactly my question, my next question.
Yeah.
Really. On va pas révéler ce que je disais, Eshkol, ce qui se passe ou ne se passera pas entre ces deux personnages, mais ça permet également de révéler à quel point les relations hommes-femmes aujourd'hui sont beaucoup plus complexes. I said we are obviously, not going to reveal, Eshkol, what is happening or not happening between these two characters, but it also allows us to reveal how male-female relationships today are much more complex.
Yes, I think some things are black and white. You know, we have the Me Too revolution, very strong in Israel. I'm a father of 3 daughters. I'm very happy that my daughters are growing up in a different kind of society when it comes to the women's right on their own body. Things have changed dramatically in the Israeli society. And as a father of 3 daughters, I wake up every morning and I say, thank you that this is happening. But still, we have so many gray areas.
As a male, yeah, you say I'm a father of 3 daughters, but I want to know as a male, as a beautiful male, who like perhaps to talk with women.
I think that as a writer, I'm really still fascinated by the question marks. There's still so many misunderstandings, so many pain in the relationship, and of course joy. And when I look around me and I look at the relationship happening around me, when I read the text of my students, which are at their 20s, I still feel there's so many gray areas to investigate through writing. And this is what I'm doing in the second novelette, in family history, with Dr. Caro and Leah and his intern. They are going through these gray areas and trying to find out what exactly are they feeling to each other. And I think these are the most fascinating moments in life and of course in storytelling.
Le personnage est quelqu'un d'extrêmement cultivé, il vit avec beaucoup de musique, de livres. Vous pensez toujours, Eshkol Nevo, que c'est ce qui arrivera à sauver le monde, les livres, l'éducation et peut-être Schubert. This character is very cultured, he lived with music, books. It's always what can save the world, books, education and Schubert.
I think sometimes intimacy is created when you find out that someone enjoys the same things that you enjoy. It's a real revelation. Like if you have a very specific piece of Paco de Lucia, you thought you were the only one who really loves Entre Dos Aguas by Paco de Lucia, the flamenco guitar master. And then you discover there's another person who likes the same piece. And then there's something about it. Culture also connects us. I'll tell you a small story that happened to me in Israel. I had a book launch of my new book in Hebrew. And one guy is a very young guy, I would say like 24, 25. He comes to me and he shows me a tattoo.
Yeah.
He made a tattoo on his arm. And the tattoo is the cover of my book,
Wow.
World Cup Wishes. Yeah, yeah.
Incredible.
Yes. And then I asked him, so why did you do this tattoo? And he said, because this is my way to know what kind of people do I want in my life. Because if someone recognizes the tattoo, where does it come from? Then I know maybe there's a potential for me for a good friend, or maybe for a love affair. Because if they recognize it, it means that they love the same book that is the most dear book for me. So I think this
It's
moment
incredible.
of discovery, when you find out that someone is attracted to the same culture that you are attracted, it's kind of a miracle.
Alors, oui, on va pas faire de tattoo. We are not going to make a tattoo, but we love you in France. You know that. Vous savez qu'on vous aime en France. Alors, dans Turbulence et Shkolnevo, chez Gallimard, il y a une troisième histoire. Là encore, c'est une disparition, mais c'est encore plus mystérieux. In this first story, there's another disappearance, but they're even more mysterious in an orchard. It's also the cover of the book, also in France. Why, and could you talk us a little about this couple in this third story?
It started with something that happened in real life. I was going walking in an orchard with my wife. We have been doing this walk for 20 years now. Nothing happens. Usually it's very boring. And we actually finished this hike, this mini hike. It's like 45 minutes hike. We came back to the car and we saw a woman crying. So we asked her, why are you crying? And she says, well, my husband went into the orchard and he said he's going to come back and he's not coming back.
Wow.
And we asked her, do you want us to help you? And she said, yes. And then we started looking for this man. And then other people joined, and it's Israel. So immediately you think maybe he was kidnapped, maybe it's a terrorist attack. And we didn't find him. And then the police came and the police didn't find him. So I thought about it. I came back home and I thought, what is the story behind this? Like, what triggers a man around my age, at his 40s? What triggers him to tell his wife that he's going to the orchard and then to disappear? I had to solve the riddle. I actually started writing this story without knowing what would be the end. I didn't know that it will end with a big party, but I started just like a detective, trying to find out, to solve the riddle.
Et vous verrez en lisant la troisième histoire. Alors, dans cette histoire, on essaie également de percer les secrets du personnage disparu à travers ce qu'il a écrit. Shkolnevo, est-ce que l'écriture est finalement parfois le seul moyen de connaître réellement les gens parce qu'on écrit mieux ce qu'on n'arrive pas à dire? In this story, we also try to unravel the secret of a character who disappeared to what he wrote. Shkolnevo, is writing ultimately sometimes the only way to really know people, because it's easier to write than to say the things to people?
Yes, it's also a book about the way we are able to express ourselves, sometimes orally, sometimes in writing. And also it's a book about confessions, because they are, in a way, confessing. In all three stories, in all three parts of the book, there is a confession. But the question is a confession authentic? Does it have to be authentic? Maybe it's just a manipulation. Maybe it's just a story. In each one of these stories, I give another character an opportunity to give another point of view. And then maybe we're not sure that we are told the truth. Maybe there's more than one truth. So this is always has been my tendency as a writer, to not to give myself to one dictator of the truth, but just like enable a more democratic way of reading the story. So I think this is what is happening in this book again and again. There's a story, and then there's another way to read the same story.
Et peut-être que l'auteur joue avec nous également, avec son lecteur. And maybe also the writer play with his reader.
Of course, the writer always
And you
plays
like it, et vous aimez ça en plus.
Yes, I think La Dernière Interview was my most playful book, but in every book of mine, I'm kind of enjoying this it's not. I'll give you. There's a more simple way to explain it. Turbulences is it's like a thriller, but it's not a thriller. When I started working on this book with my editor, I told her, look, we are going to use the mechanism of a thriller because it's going to be a page turner. It's going to be a very intense book, but not in a black and white way, and we're not going to solve or give answers to all the questions. So we're going to play with the reader. The reader would think that he's reading a thriller, but in the end, he's actually reading a book about relationships. And relationships are always complicated, and you don't get a definite answer when it comes to love.
C'est aussi Eshkol-Nevo, à travers ces trois histoires, le thème de la solitude de celui qui reste avec ses souvenirs et ses regrets. It's also the theme of solitude through these three stories, the solitude of those who remain with their memory and their regrets.
I think the book was written while during the COVID time. And when I look at it, I have a perspective because it was written already 4 years ago. I think it was deeply affected by the fact that I've written it during COVID because all the characters are facing turbulence. They are going through a very dramatic event in their life, like COVID. Even though, the word COVID is not mentioned one time in the book, It's not a book about COVID, but it was deeply affected by it. I think first the turbulence, this dramatic event that is shaking your life, and also a sense of not knowing what to do. And as you said, loneliness and kind of facing a new reality, and you have to invent yourself in a way. And bottom line, you are alone in this. You have to find out a new meaning to your life, and maybe in a way, it's similar to what is happening now in Israel. We have gone through a tragic turbulence, and now we are trying to find our story again. What is the new story of Israel?
Vous parliez tout à l'heure, Eshkol-Nevo, des routes qu'on ne prend pas. Et je disais il y a un instant que ces personnages restaient avec leurs regrets. You talked during this interview about the road we will not take them. And I ask you for the character of the regret. What is your biggest regret and perhaps the road that you didn't take?
Well, I wanted to be a musician.
Yeah.
I don't think I regretted it that I haven't become a musician, because the problem was that I didn't have enough talent. I really tried. I tried to play the guitar, the drums, the violin, the piano, but I was talentless. Yeah, because I really wanted to be in a band. And maybe be a rock star, but and sing. And I also tried to sing. I even sent
can you sing?
A single to the radio stations.
Yes, can you sing now for the radio station in France?
No, I'm not sure it's a good idea.
I'm sure it's a good idea.
Yeah, and I can tell you that when I was 24, I sent a single to all the radio stations in Israel with me singing.
Do you have it again?
Until this day, I haven't got a response. I didn't get a response, and maybe I was not that good. So I don't regret it, but I feel it was definitely a road not taken. Maybe it's the reason I'm writing about musicians so much, and also another thing. I'm a father of 3 daughters. I really love being a father of 3 daughters. Even my youngest daughter has actually joined me in being a football fan of my football team in Israel. And yet I must say that being a father of a boy is something I would not experience in life. And I'm looking at other fathers of boys, and I'm thinking to myself, this could have been really interesting. What would my boy look like? And maybe that's the reason that I'm writing a lot about fathers and for boys. I'm kind of realizing this unfulfilled dream through my characters.
Perhaps it's better for us. It's better that you write, also that you sing. Voilà, pour nous, c'est peut-être mieux que vous écriviez que vous ne chantiez. Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres livres en préparation, Eshkol Nevo? Parce que ça y est, j'ai fini celui-là. Il me faut un autre, Eshkol Nevo. Do you have a new book in preparation? Because I have finished this. I want another, Eshkol Nevo. I already read.
Okay. If you can read in Hebrew, my new book is called Lev Raev. Lev Raev is Hungry Heart.
Yeah.
It was published in August, and it was 26 weeks #1 in the bestseller list.
Wow.
So it's really did really well here. It was read before the war, during the war. I was reading from this book in so many occasions, so many very dramatic occasions, and I'm very, very proud of this book, and I hope that Gallimard would translate it, and
Yeah,
we'll be able to read it.
They have no choice. They have to translate it.
I think it's my best book. But maybe when you will read it, you will be able to judge.
I hope. And stop talking about it if I can't read it just right now. It's impossible.
Okay.
Arrêtez de m'en parler si je ne peux pas. Dernière question. Est-ce qu'on have last question? We broadcast this interview on the 21 March, finally in France. Finally in France, it's 21 March. How to make the rest of the world understand that in Israel, it's always October 7. And for you, as a writer, as an Israeli, as a professor, as a teacher, as a father, which day? 7 October or 21 March, or perhaps between the two?
I hope we will be able to remember also the day of that this war will end. This is what I'm waiting for. I think this war should end in a way that will ensure that we will have no more October 7. I think the nation can survive just one event like this. It was so horrible that I think we have to make sure that it will not happen again. But if you're asking me about dates, I would look forward and think about the day when this war will end, and then all the creativity forces and all the natural happiness and the natural vividness of the Israeli character would burst like a volcano, and you'll see people in the streets. Not like now, sad, traumatized, afraid, but you would see people in the street like they are usually energetic, smiling, and proud to be with each other. So this is what I'm waiting for. And when we will have that date, invite me for another interview.
Yeah.
And we will talk about the end of the war.
That's true, and that's what we are waiting also in France. C'est ce qu'on attend également en France. Thank you so much, Eshkol, and I hope to see you soon in France, because here in RCG we are your fan club. Voilà, nous sommes votre fan club absolu en France. Merci beaucoup, et je vous recommande absolument de lire cette petite merveille. Eshkol Nevo, Turbulence, paru chez Gallimard. Thank you so much, Eshkol. Bye bye. Yom Tov.
Thank you so much. Bye bye. Au revoir.
Au revoir.